Was the MacBook's notch really necessary? Well, let's talk about it. Hey guys, Tech Flash here. So after years of getting it wrong, Apple has finally made a laptop worthy of the Pro tag. With two new sizes, crazy powerful silicon with every configuration available, necessary ports brought back, and an improved display, this is without a doubt a dream machine that has been long awaited for by professionals, except that it comes with a bad hairdo, or more precisely, a notch. All things aside, a notch on a laptop seems like one of those things that you shouldn't probably do or shouldn't be there. Even still, Apple chose to bring the infamous notch from the iPhones to the MacBooks. But what a lot of us are thinking is, was it really necessary, or is this just another Apple thing that doesn't really make sense? When Apple introduced the notch to the iPhone, they tried to give us enough reason as to why they went in that direction: slimmer bezels, no chin, and a more secure biometric authentication in the form of Face ID, which made sense, and yet still people hated it and wanted to see it removed in the coming generations. And while the debate will still continue on until Apple finally drops the notch from its iPhones, there's at least some benefit to having it. However, with the MacBook Pro, Apple doesn't seem to have even tried to justify it. If you've seen the camera assembly on any previous MacBooks or any laptop for that matter, you know that it doesn't take a huge amount of space. Given that Apple is skipping Face ID here, there's not much of an obvious reason to have a notch that huge, but there may be some explanation to it, which may or may not make sense to you. The MacBook Pro design was copied so much by other laptop manufacturers over the years, and with the new MacBook Pro, Apple is bringing back elements from the 2015 design. However, it seems like the company wanted it to have an extra drop of identity, and so the notch was introduced, a design feature that Apple users are well familiar with thanks to the iPhone. A lot of people like myself would probably not be too bothered about it because we are getting very thin bezels at just 3.5 millimeters, but at the same time it makes you think, is that all? Because the reality is that's pretty much all there is to it. And I know a lot of people that were eagerly waiting for the new MacBooks to arrive and didn't place the orders just because of the notch. So to some people this is a very big deal, to some people it's really not a big deal. You can go past it if you consider the other things that the MacBook Pro is offering. Even despite having the room for the necessary extra sensors for the 3D face recognition, the MacBook Pro doesn't have Face ID, the main reason behind the notch on the iPhones. And it just seems like one of those things that's so Apple-like that we've all learned to accept it. To most of us, the notch ruins what is an amazing display, although Apple and most buyers probably won't see it that way. While the front camera situation on phones has been evolving quickly over the last few years, laptops have had a less flattering journey. We've seen implementations like the weird pop-up nose cam on the Dell XPS 13 and the Huawei MateBook series, while some other manufacturers have completely skipped including a webcam. So when it comes down to it, is it possible that Apple didn't have an alternative at all without rethinking the display design? You could argue that the notch was the best implementation here if Apple were to set this MacBook apart without making an even more radical choice. But at the same time, it seems like something that could have easily been avoided. The top bezel could have been thinner than previous MacBook Pros, but still kept thick enough to accommodate the camera without a notch. Alternatively, the MacBook Pro notch could have been a lot smaller. There's a lot of unused space in that notch where those Face ID sensors should have been. A punch hole design camera could have also worked, or even a teardrop design if Apple wanted to keep things different and unique. But while the notch may have made a lot of people from buying the new MacBook Pro, we cannot ignore that the new MacBook Pros are overall positive thanks to the new M1 chips. There is so much good about these machines that even the notch can't do much damage here. The overall reception will no doubt be positive because of the sheer number of wrongs Apple has righted for its MacBook Pro lineup after so many years. The MacBook Pro looks to be a near perfect machine for professionals and a great upgrade from existing users. It got nearly everything users have been asking for since the 2016 MacBook Pro dropped. As far as the idea of the fully perfect Pro machine goes, we may have to wait a little bit until Apple introduces an under-display camera and hope that there are no more surprises to ruin the experience then. If you want to learn more about why Apple does the things that it does, watch my video on why people still buy iPhones. It may give you a bit of an insight or a perspective into why Apple does what it does. Anyways guys, that is it for this video. If you enjoyed, please drop a like and consider subscribing if you haven't already. Really means a lot to me. Thank you once again for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.